Good morning, student. In previous class, what you all have discussed? You remember? We have discussed about free vibrations, vibrations which takes place in absence of any external force. Then damped vibrations, vibrations which takes place in presence of the resistive force. And the force vibrations, the vibrations of a body under the external periodic force of frequency different from the natural frequency of the body. And the resonant vibrations, the vibrations of a body under an external periodic force of frequency exactly equal to the natural frequency of the body. So these all things we have discussed in detail. Just I recapitulate the definition. Now the last part of the topic, last part of the sound chapter, we are going to study characteristics of sound and their subjective and objective nature. There are three fundamental characteristics of musical sounds. Here, what are these? First, we can say pitch, loudness, quality. Now student, these are the subjective measurement, and pitch depends on frequency, loudness depends on intensity, quality depends on waveform. So these are the three characteristics of the sound. Now we are going to discuss one by one. So first I am going to discuss with loudness. What is loudness? Loudness is the characteristics of a musical sound by which a loud sound can be distinguished from a faint sound. A loud sound can be distinguished from the faint sound, even though both have same pitch and quality. Means the loudness is the characteristics of a musical sound by which a loud sound can be distinguished from the faint sound. Now how can we distinguish? As I said, loudness of sound depends on amplitude. So loud sound corresponds to the wave of large amplitude. Loudness is directly proportional to the square of the amplitude. So you can see the graph. You are asked to draw the graph also in the exam for the soft sound and loud sound. If we say soft sound means amplitude is small, and the loud sound is amplitude is large. So you can look at the graph. But one thing you should observe this figure, this displacement time graph. You just look at this. I have drawn here line. So their frequency is same. Look at both the graph. Their curve, waveform is same. It means quality is same. Frequency is same. What is difference between them? Amplitude. So by seeing these two graphs, you can say that which one is for the loud and which one is for the soft. How can you say? By seeing the amplitude. Larger amplitude means loud sound. A smaller amplitude means soft sound. Now, as I said, loudness, objective property is intensity. Here I would like to say loudness. Why? It is subjective measurement. See student, loudness is the differ from person to person. For example, a boy is standing at a distance and he is producing a sound, and suppose for a example, if I say at 10 meter, 3-4 persons are standing. So the voice of the boy can be heard by all three of them with different loudness. So it is not a measurable quantity. Loudness is not a measurable quantity. It is just our perception. But intensity being a measurable quantity, it is an objective property. So what is intensity? Definition of the intensity. The intensity of a sound wave at a point of the medium is amount of sound energy passing per second normally through on unit area at that point. Again I am repeating, what is intensity? Intensity of a sound wave at a point of the medium is the amount of sound energy passing per second normally through an unit area at that point. So unit is watt per meter square. SI unit of intensity is watt per meter square. Again I am saying loudness is measurable quantity. Loudness is not a measurable quantity, so it is a subjective in nature. But intensity is a measurable quantity, as we say unit is watt per meter square. So it is a objective in nature. Now student, what are the factors on which loudness depend? As I have already discussed, what is loud? Loudness is a sensation as perceived by the listener. It is a subjective and cannot be measured, while intensity being a measurable quantity has an objective in nature. Here the question in the board, it is asked, why loudness is subjective in nature and intensity is an objective. So you can say loudness is a sensation as perceived by the listener. It is a subjective and cannot be measured, while intensity being a measurable quantity has an objective in nature. Now, factors affecting the loudness of sound. So one by one we'll discuss. As first, I have shown you displacement time graph, amplitude of vibration of the source. How does it depends? Loud and symbol is A. Amplitude, you know, symbol is A. So loudness is directly proportional to the square of the amplitude. So from here directly proportional, it means what? Amplitude increases, loudness also increases. Here if the amplitude becomes twice, so loudness becomes 4 times. Got me? Here the question is asked on basis of this, ratio of A1 and A2 is 2:3. So what is the ratio of loudness? L1:L2. It is the square, it means 4:9. Understood? Now next is surface area of the vibrating body. Loudness is directly proportional to the surface area. The greater the surface area of the vibrating body, greater is the loudness of the sound. Greater is the loudness of the sound. Third is distance from the vibrating body. Loudness of the sound is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. So here loudness is inversely proportional. It means if the source of sound, distance of the source of sound from the listener increases, so what will happen? Loudness of sound will decreases. Understood? So loudness of sound is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. Lower the distance between the listener and the source, louder is the sound heard by the listener and vice versa. Density of the medium. Loudness is directly proportional to the density. Greater the density of the medium, louder is the sound. It means if the solid surface means more sound, louder sound can be heard. Presence of resonant bodies. The presence of resonant body near the vibrating body increases the loudness of the sound. Now, we have discussed the factors on which the loudness of sound depends. What are the factors? Again, I am recapitulating. First is amplitude. How does it depend? Loudness is directly proportional to the square of amplitude. Second is surface area of the vibrating body. It means loudness is directly proportional to the surface area. More the surface area, louder is the sound. Third is distance from the vibrating body. It means loudness of sound. How does this depend? Inversely proportional to the square of distance. So, the lesser the distance between the listener and the source, the louder is the sound heard by the listener. Fourth is density of the medium. Loudness is directly proportional to the density. Greater the density of the medium, louder is the sound. And fifth is presence of the resonant body. So you must learn these all. Now, second characteristics of sound is pitch. Pitch is the characteristics of sound by which we can distinguish a shrill sound from a grave sound, even though the two sounds have the same loudness. Again I am repeating, what is pitch? It is the characteristics of a musical sound by which we can distinguish a shrill sound from a grave sound. Again I am repeating, what is pitch? It is the characteristics of a musical sound by which we can distinguish a shrill sound from a grave sound, even though the two sounds have the same loudness. Just keep this point, same loudness. Pitch of a sound depends upon the frequency. It means loudness will remain same. What will change? Frequency. If the pitch is high, the sound is shrill. And if pitch is low, sound is grave or flat. Two notes sounded on the same instrument with same amplitude will differ in pitch when their vibrations are of different frequency. Now see, what is there? Two notes sounded on the same instrument is same with the same amplitude will differ in pitch when their vibrations are of different frequency. Now look at this displacement time graph. Here also, student, you are asked to draw this displacement time graph showing shrill sound or grave sound. When we say grave sound, it means pitch is low, and pitch is low means frequency is less. Here you look at this frequency. Here in this one vibration, here it is two vibration. It means frequency is more. So sound is shrill. So when you draw this graph, displacement time graph together to show the low pitch and high pitch, you just mark this line, dotted line here, dotted line, and so that you can show that the change in frequency. Low pitch means frequency is low and sound is grave. High pitch means frequency is more and sound is shrill. Now the third characteristics of sound is quality or timbre. Quality or timbre. It is the characteristics of a musical sound that enable us to distinguish between two sounds of the same pitch and the loudness produced by two different sources because of change in their wave. Again I am repeating, quality. Quality depends on waveform. It means it is the characteristics of the musical sound that enable us to distinguish between two sounds of same pitch and loudness produced by two different sources. Sources are different. But what is different? They are different in waveform. By seeing the waveform, you can say the name of the characteristics, quality. But what will remain same? Frequency as well as amplitude. But pattern of waveform will be different. So first thing, student, again I will recapitulate here. First thing we discuss in characteristics of sound, loudness. So loudness is the characteristics of the sound which distinguish between loud sound and soft sound having the same frequency. But what will be different? Amplitude. The second characteristics is pitch. Pitch is the characteristics of the musical sound by which we can distinguish a shrill sound from a grave sound, even though the two sounds have the same loudness. Same loudness, if we say, it means amplitude remain same. So what will be different? Pitch, frequency. If frequency is low, sound is low pitch, grave sound, flat sound. If the frequency is more, shrill sound, high pitch. This is from, they sound same instrument, but their amplitude is same, their frequency is different. Waveform is same. Waveform is same. In quality, this is the characteristics of the musical sound that enable us to distinguish between two sounds of same pitch, same loudness, but they are differ in their waveform. Got me? Now there is a relationship between loudness and intensity. This is just simple question. It is asked L is equal to K log 10I, where L is the loudness, I is the intensity of sound. Now these are the few important points which I have mentioned over here. Unit of loudness. Simple one word question is asked. Unit of loudness, it is phone. PHON. Loudness level, sound level, decibel. The same limit of level of sound for hearing, safe limit of sound for hearing 0 to 80 decibel. Soothing sensation, it means musical, 30 decibel to 10 decibel. Lower limit of hearing, it is 0 decibel. These things you should learn. And noise above 120 decibel. Now there is a musical sound and noise. You may ask define musical sound with graph, or you may ask define noise with graph, explain it, or draw the graph for the musical sound and noise, or maybe differentiate. So here I have discussed with all together, I have made the tabular form. Here parameter, when we talk about the effect on ear. So what is effect on ear for the musical sound? It produces pleasing effect on our ears and mind. But noise, it produces unpleasing effect on our ears and mind. Waveform, it produces a regular waveform and it produces an irregular waveform. It means there is a sudden change. You can see here, waveform is regular, right? Same frequency, there is no change in amplitude. But here displacement time graph from the waveform is irregular. There is a sudden change in the graph, some high peak and then low. Suddenly amplitude is very high and suddenly amplitude is very slow, very low. So this is what irregular waveform. Third is sound level. The musical sound level is low and that is 10 decibel to 30 decibel. The sound level is high for the noise, above 120 decibel. In musical sound, there are no sudden change in the amplitude or wavelength. You can look at this. But in noise, there are sudden changes in the amplitude or wavelength. Then example, sound produced by all musical instrument. It is a musical sound. And the sound produced by machine in factory or horn given by the vehicles, or you may say you throw a stone somewhere on the building and you may hear the sound, that is noise. So today's topic we have discussed characteristics of sound, and what all the characteristics of the sound we have discussed: loudness, pitch, and third is quality. And then we have discussed the factors on which loudness depends. Musical sound and noise differences. One thing I would like to tell you, student, when we say loudness, you should know how to draw the displacement time graph between for the loud sound and soft sound. What will be you should take care when you draw the displacement time graph for the loud and soft. Loud means higher amplitude, soft means low amplitude, but frequency will remain same. Then you may ask for the draw the graph for the high pitch and low pitch. When we say high pitch, it means frequency is more, and low pitch frequency is less. But what will remain same? Amplitude will remain same. Then waveform quality. Quality means by the graph you can draw the two graph, but their amplitude and frequency should remain same. Only what will different? Waveform will be different. And many more examples are there. You please read your book, and all together all the application based questions, reasoning question, I'll make a notes and I'll provide you. But these all the things which I'm providing you in the notes form, you take a note in your register. You must write everything in your register, and on your own you must read your chapter once, and these all the things to be underlined in your book. Please keep underlining, and after listening the video, you must read your chapter, underline the important point, and then you take notes given by me. Whatever the notes I am providing, these notes you must take on register. I hope you understood the topic. And the back exercises question, most of the questions I have covered in the notes, and the few application based questions, reasoning based questions, that I will provide you with question answer all together. Thank you. God bless you.